Welcome to Corporate Caffeine. Darlisa Diltz joined Kyle and I today, and she is the founder of the North Texas Entrepreneur Education and Training Center. Now, this organization is really, really cool because they sit at the heart of dreams. They help people who are pre-startup and early stage entrepreneurs to really get the practical insight they need to go big and to actually make it work. And Darlisa's story personally is beautiful because it was following her passion, being willing to see opportunities and then lift as she herself has climbed through her own entrepreneur journey. You are going to love this woman and everything she's doing for those entrepreneurs out there. Let's join in. Darlisa Diltz, welcome to Corporate Caffeine. We're so excited to have you on today.
Thank you for having me. I am excited to be here.
Absolutely. So obviously we know your background, but why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your very cool organization?
Ooh, okay. So the very cool organization, I still have to find that part. But so for me, I run an organization that does entrepreneur education, North Texas Entrepreneur Education and Training. That's a mouthful. And we focus on providing education for Preventure and startup entrepreneurs. So helping them to establish their foundation for getting started in business. A lot of people think they know what they know, but they don't know what they don't know. And so our hope and our goal is to prepare them so that they can fail forward and make the right choices coming out of the gate. We do workshops, we do trainings, we do cohorts, and we were the first for-profit business service organization focused on education here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Is amazing. Well, and what I love is it's Preventure. So you are super clear when you're saying, like on your marketing and stuff, you guys are not an accelerator, you are not some sort of co-working space or any other, lift as you climb thing. I mean, this is Preventure. And I love that because so often people have a talent, a skill, an invention, an amazing idea. And you're right. They know nothing about business and they don't know that until they're in a dangerous spot after they've already launched.
Correct. And so we tried the co-working thing. The cards weren't in it for us to do that. And it made me realize that I needed to go back to my passion and where I feel like God led me to be in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of honing in on helping those people because I know growing up, I didn't know entrepreneurship. I didn't see it. The world is much more different, but the process is still the process.
Yeah.
And so that's where we hang our hat. We are Preventure up to $50K in revenue. We feel like once you get to the point of you're generating some revenue, you get it, right? So we focus a lot on the human side of entrepreneurship, and then we usher in the practical and the tangible parts of it. Because if you don't get the human side, you kind of setting yourself up already there. So that's kind of what's unique about our program amongst all the other programs. One, we know our lane. We're not trying to shift lanes. Preventure, startup, and then we go to leadership. So if you've been in business for a while and you're trying to wrap it back around, because we're really big on like community as well.
Nice.
So creating spaces and opportunities for underrepresented, underserved, and individuals that just may not have access.
Yeah.
So the leadership component helps people that have been in their businesses for a while. They can write several books on it, but they don't know how to give back. They don't know how to connect. And so we kind of skip from that 50, 75K, and then we go up to those that have been in business for multiple years.
That is fantastic.
How did you get into this?
Good Lord, I don't know. It was definitely not something I planned for.
Right.
I didn't see entrepreneurship growing up, never knew anything about it. I'm a learner. And so I like helping people too. And my first stint as an entrepreneur, someone paid me to help them put together an executive plan. They were a new ED for organization. And I'm like, oh, that's easy. No problem. And help them do that. And they were like, okay, well, how much do we owe you? And it's like, nothing. Anything. It's like, oh, yeah, we owe you something. So they paid me. Then they started sending people to me to get more help. And I'm like, no. It's like, I didn't want my husband thinking I was turning tricks on the corner, getting all this extra money. So I had to figure out what that process was. Thankfully, in St. Louis, which is where I'm from, it was only $25 to get an LLC. And I'm like, what? $25 and you can have your own business? Let's do this. And so I started renting. I had a full-time job and I was comfortable. So I was okay with teaching everybody else how to do it. And I was good with my corporate job. So we were in libraries, we were in the YMCAs, we were just any community room. I'm like filling up these rooms, just teaching people that process. And this was pre-Vistaprint and all that. So it was great. And so the Small Business Development Center, the SBDCs, were coming to the classes, the free classes, and they were like, how is she getting all these people in the class? And I'm like, I don't know. It's fun. And so they were the ones to actually offer me my first contract opportunity. And I was like, no, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I have a job. It has benefits. I'm good.
Right.
And then, when it's time and there's purpose, you start kind of getting plucked out of that nest. Things went sour with my corporate job. And I'm like, okay,
there's your sign.
Guess it's time.
Yeah.
And I took my first contract with the SBDC. And from there, I worked with universities. I helped to build women's business centers. I was a part of the Cortex Innovation District in St. Louis to bring that to St. Louis. I've always been a question asker and never really been afraid to kind of push the buck a little bit. So that kind of helped. And as with all entrepreneurial endeavors, it's like you win some, you lose some. And I still think to this day, my husband is not real sure what I do for a living, but he knows that it works. And so it's like, okay. And so that's literally how I got started.
Yeah, that's awesome. A lot of people don't know how to get started. We were in that boat because we didn't know many people who own their own businesses. I was in my late 20s when I kind of ventured off on my own. And, that learning curve's tough when you don't have a mentor tell you the different steps and the processes it takes and the little things you need to know just to have your books right at the end of the year.
What books?
Yeah, what books? Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly. How to
isn't that the
document
truth?
everything.
Learning QuickBooks on the fly just because you had heard about it.
Literally.
Oh my gosh.
So I set up a meeting with every, I guess you would call them BSO. So in St. Louis, like every organization that taught entrepreneurship, I set up a meeting with them and I was like, hey, how could I help? What could I do to be a part of it? I can teach a class, I'll volunteer, I'll do whatever. So I was always, after I realized that was kind of my lane, I kind of immersed myself in being, I wouldn't say good at it, but learning it, right? Because I didn't know it. So I know I didn't have a network. I didn't have any money. And there were a lot of people like me. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And that's kind of been my charge, like helping people that were like me that didn't realize that may not be able to walk into a room and, just get clients. And so that's not even really why I started North Texas Entrepreneurial Training. That's kind of where I got into the entrepreneurial thing. So then my family, we moved to Texas. I took a position with the SBDC here. And that was a desk job. So I went from entrepreneurial living to Texas to a desk job. I lived in Hazlitt and I commuted to Plano every day.
Wow.
And that was culture shock.
Yeah.
Because we come from St. Louis. Everything is literally 15, 20 minutes away. And that was like a 2-hour commute. So I was away from my kids, all that. The position was great though. So it was absolutely everything that I had been doing. I had the relationship with the SBDC, but I outgrew the position because I was used to growing entrepreneurs, right? I was in the community. I was, and so I asked the director, I'm like, hey, let me get in these streets. Like, let me help the people. I was like, well, as long as you can keep your productivity, no problem. So I did. I went out and I started being in the community. People started coming in and it was great. But the way the SBDC was set up is you had to be assigned an advisor. And people were like, I don't want to go to them. I want to go to her. And so, I outgrew it. Again, great position. So I had gotten offered the opportunity. So in that stint, I worked with the Women's Business Center in Dallas, helped get that established, and I went to Louisiana to help build out, the millennial mindset for entrepreneurs, all these cool things, right? First 3 months in Texas, the Dallas Business Journal, I was in the Dallas Business Journal because I cleared $7.2 million in capital. And they were like, who is this chick? Where did she come from?
Kidding.
And it's like, these people have good credit. What do you mean? Like, let's do it. Where I'm from, there's no credit, there's no money. It's like,
Eric, this is easy.
This is
I
easy.
love it. Wow.
So fast forward, I had gotten an opportunity I was looking for something to put me closer to home because that was a stretch. It was really starting to be taxing on my health, my marriage, my family, because it literally was culture shock. So there was a lending institution that was coming to Texas. They were looking for 7A loan officers. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. Didn't really want to do it, but I was going to do it. Potential 6 figures. I would have been able to work from home. It would have put me out in the community. And 4 days before I was going to step into that position, the government shut down. So with that being a 7A position, there goes that job. I had already closed things out at the SBDC. And I'm like, Lord, I know you didn't bring me to Texas to have this happen. And it was
so scary.
I went into a dark place, honestly.
Yeah.
And he tapped me on my shoulder. He's like, you know what you're doing. And I'm like, no, I don't. And he's like, it's time. So I'm like, if this is what you want me to do, you literally have, when people say, Jesus, take the wheel. I didn't give him the wheel. I gave him the whole car. I gave him the insurance policy. I gave him everything because I had nothing. So found an office space, rented it out, and called it North Texas Entrepreneur Training Center. And the premise at that point was to kind of be a catalyst or a bridge for services like the SBDC, the Women's Business Center, the banks, because I knew what they were looking for, right? There's a checklist that they were going after. Most entrepreneurs were not at that point yet. So then you kind of get put into a funnel. Okay, well, go take this class, come back and see us when you have capital, when your credit is good. Well, what if I don't ever get that? That doesn't mean I can't be an entrepreneur, right?
That's right.
So we started North Texas Entrepreneur Training to be that foundation. And that was late 2018, going into 2019. 2019, worst year of my life. I made hardly any money, like bad. But I pounded the pavement. I was at every event. I was volunteering. I was, you name it, I was there. And what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of times I was going to the networking events just to eat lunch because I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
But building relationships, getting out there, getting her done, trying to, build those bridges. The people that I thought were going to be my partners wanted no parts of it. They were like, who are you? What are we doing? And it was like horrible. So at the end of that year, I had to petition God. I'm like, okay, if this is what you're telling me to do, if I see next year, you're telling me it's going to be okay. I was literally prepared to die because my life was horrible. And we always go to church New Year's Eve, and December 31st, 11:58, 59, literally in my mind, I was like, if I keel over, that means my life is going to, I would rather do that than go through this again. 12 o'clock. And it was literally I felt a shifting, right? So we go into January, things start picking up. I'm getting called for speaking engagements and stuff like that. We had 2 classes that were filling up. So I'm like, yes, Lord, thank you so much. And then the pandemic hits, and I'm like, yep, okay, I'm convinced I've done something wrong. Life is just like, ugh. But that was the start of like the best ever. Like it started the trend, the uptick for us, because no other organization had programs in place for underserviced, underutilized, underrepresented entrepreneurs, right? So all this money starts getting thrown at these organizations to help this market of people that I've been saying,
Yes.
here's the people that need help. Contracts came, and, that's kind of where it led us to.
Wow. A lot of people when the pandemic hit were looking to do things on their own. All the corporate jobs ended, and I'm sure there was a rush, to that market. They just had to find you. They had time at home to look too.
Yeah, research and dream. I mean, even if you had a full-time job that you got to keep, all of a sudden you don't have the drive time anymore. I mean, there's so much downtime for people to go, what if?
Yep.
Oh, I love it. And you were there.
And I was there. Many of the corporations, so some of our strongest partnerships started out of the pandemic, and we still have those partners today. We started doing programming. So we had to change our model, of course, because it was a 6-month program. So it literally was education for 12 weeks and then implementation for 12 weeks, because we wanted to grow them. Like, this is what entrepreneurship is.
Yes.
Here's how you do it. Well, after the pandemic, nobody's doing anything for 12 weeks, let alone 6 months. So we changed our structure. We started partnering with multiple organizations. We became a national program by 21, and by 22, we were global. So now we do global programming.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
So like, give me an example of where, like, the type of things that you teach and like where people access these resources.
So now we have a lot of established partnerships. So many of the programs that you hear about that are entrepreneur focused are cohorts or accelerators. We either help them write that program or we facilitate their programs for them. And so it came by way of a lot of that.
Yeah.
And then just it continues. So if they're looking for entrepreneur education or something like that, I guess will pop up. We do technical assistance for 4 banks now.
Wow.
So instead of them trying to, help them with their business plan, they'll route them through us. We have 7 in-house advisors or contract advisors that, we parse out. So we are like a full-on business now.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes. So we have, we're a full operating staff, and everything has been great. It has not all been great, but we've grown.
Right.
I participated myself in an Accelerator program this year just so I could know what I didn't know, because I literally got started just to help people, right? I didn't really know and understand scaling. I was just happy that a little old Black girl from St. Louis is an entrepreneur. Like, I don't work for anybody.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm doing this. I'm making this work.
It's a good feeling, isn't it?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, and so the Accelerator was with businesses all over the world, founders first, and these were like up to $1 million in revenue.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, you think about mindset development. We teach a lot of that, and that's just to get started. But holy cow, there's a shift in mindset to get to the next level.
Absolutely.
And that was so rewarding for me.
Oh, you talked about the power of community, and I just love so much that you got to receive it too, since you build it for so many other people, because you're right. I mean, mindset oftentimes comes from being exposed to how other people think and like how they encourage you, what they see in you. And so then you can start to identify the things that are happening in, they're ping-ponging around in your own brain that do not serve your advancement, that do not serve your goals, and that your skill or whatever you're bringing to the table. So what was the biggest thing for you, like, that you learned in the Accelerator you got to participate in?
Great question. So exactly what you said. People loved on me. right? I'm so used to being the one that give the help.
Yeah.
And I think it was a relief to know it's okay. Like people are going through it, and yes, that's fine. That doesn't mean it's the end of the road. And it gave me the confidence to go back to my start, because, in my industry, everyone is doing entrepreneur education now. Everyone is doing entrepreneur education. So it gets a little discouraging sometimes.
Yeah.
But through the program, what I learned was that I don't have to change who I am and why I am to compete.
No, right.
Because if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, my customers will find me. And that has been true. So it was really good to, one, see other people in a much higher light relate to me and not be like, well, what are you doing? And then, 2 weeks later, they're doing it.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me to go back to why I got started. So it reminded me of my own personal why.
I love it. Well, and you were literally, and I don't just mean from a spiritual or metaphorical perspective, but you were literally called into it. Like somebody calls you on the phone, is like, can you help me? And then they insist on paying you. And then they insist on sending other people to you that will pay you. And then people just keep showing up because they want what you have. And I mean, that has literally been like, we need you. I mean, like literally called into it physically. It was so interesting. And so that is so important to go back to. I have something valuable to bring, and even in hard times, don't argue that. Like it's still true, even if things get tough, So I love it. I love it.
Thank you. It is definitely something that I throw my towel in probably daily, right? And
I was there this week. Oh my, had a meltdown this week. So I feel you.
And thank you for even saying that, it's like I do have to remind myself that this is something that I was purposed for. So we forget our prayers and all that kind of stuff, but then you remind it, like if it wasn't meant, he would move you out of the way. And trials come to make us stronger, right? By now, I feel like I'm almost there with the Hulk. In terms of strength, but
resilience, strength, battle scars.
But it also helps me to be able to relate to the people that come through our programs because I get it. I understand it. That term, I don't like to say got it out the mud, but literally I've been through it.
Yeah.
So I can help. And that's really what I want to do anyway. I want to be able to help them get to the point where they can get. It's not easy. It is not easy at all. But if you do it, it is worth it because I don't see myself working for a corporation anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I just don't. So,
because that's always my plan B as well. I mean, I think it is for every entrepreneur that builds a skill set, right? Is that, if it all hits the fan and it all comes tumbling down, at least I up-leveled and I can always go back to the corporate world, go back to a place where I know how to bring value, but I don't want to, right? So it's like, okay, so I'm just going to keep battling forward, failing forward until God goes, nope, not anymore. Or until he just keeps pushing me on, so I absolutely get it.
I have a question for you guys.
Sure.
So my husband and I, we are totally opposite. What is it like being in business as a husband and wife?
Oh boy, you asked on an awkward week. It's been a difficult one this week. It's tough sometimes. It surely is. But we definitely identified our own roles and just try to stay in that lane and act like this is a corporate business world rather than a relationship, even though we had the discussions after work like any couple does. You would talk to him about his work, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. It's just more intense when you get home.
I mean, I think especially when we're really working on all cylinders, we are very intentional around shifting our roles. So at work, It's not like, hey, baby, or or even like jerk, like if like, I think like we're really intentional about work is work, clean is clean, like communicate professionalism because it respects the rest of the team and each other, because I still respect his role, even if I was mad from last night or something, but I still respect who he is, what he brings to the table, and the fact that it's important and it's deserving of respect. And then shifting into home mode where we can just talk about work. There was a period of time where I was like, okay, I know this sounds so crazy. I literally just need you to ask me how my day was on the way home. And he was like, no, I know how your day was. I'm like, but you don't. Like, I know this sounds so weird, but my head is crazy and I need to be able to talk to you about what Dace, the wife, like experienced today, not what you saw on my calendar, not like what the business side. And he thought that was so funny, but we have to literally like strike a different tone at dinner, and we do. You know what I mean? Where like it's more about the funny things or the interesting things or the emotional side, so even if we're talking about business, it's like how we feel about it, or like, where we can vet the stress or vet the excitement and dream a little bit or do whatever. So, but I think we've had to learn how to shift gears, and it's not always perfect. You know what I mean? It can be really hard to do that, especially if there are stressful things happening and, you don't want to be intentional right now. Like, doggone it, I'm just tired. I'm stressed out.
I think if my skill set was a marketer or a CMO, it would be really difficult if we both were competing.
Yeah, I agree with
for
that.
I mean, not within the same organization, we wouldn't be competing, but for us to have the same skill set in the same company, it would be a lot more difficult. I handle everything and I enjoy handling everything that she doesn't like, and that's my strong suit. So that's how it kind of works out for us.
Yeah.
That's good. That's pretty cool. Like, I think that's awesome. I don't think my husband and I will ever get to the point of running a company together, because I feel like I would just get agitated. Like, he's a workman, right? Yeah. Like he's like, get in there, get dirty, get her done, that kind of thing. And my get her done is more like strategy. Yeah. So I think we would just all the time.
I'm more like your husband in ways, for sure.
See?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, and he kind of sees like numbers, as the real world, right? So, he was in trucking and, a lot of hands-on work. Oh, yeah, exactly. And so I think there's something real and tangible that even though he's behind a screen now, like dollars are real. They don't lie. That is facts. Like, that is something of substance. And I'm like, vision, future, plans, daydreaming, brainstorming. What if?
It's like, it doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah.
It will eventually. Let's just figure out that bridge,
Exactly.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, my husband is a truck driver.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah, it's two different dynamics.
Is he local or over the road?
He's local.
Oh, that's nice.
He stays
local.
Yeah.
He had a stint with over the road, but now he's like, I'm not going out of town. So
if you
that works out.
don't have to, don't do it.
Oh, totally. It's
you can
so
have a
hard.
personal life.
I know, especially a marriage and kids. Yeah, it's so much better to be home every night.
He's home every night. So it works out.
Yeah.
I was telling that we're empty nesters now. So both kids.
How are you feeling about
college.
it? Because you are literally like, it is right now. Like, the dust is still on your heels from graduation. I still going through it.
Am about to throw myself a party and
good idea.
Celebrate. We have a lot of So I mentioned earlier that I had a center before, and that recently went away. So as of January, and that was really hard at first. So trying to cope with that and just, that fail forward type thing. But it was literally like God ripped the Band-Aid off and grabbed it, because the education side has like skyrocketed. I'm traveling, I'm speaking.
There's no way a physical location would have worked with that
and then I did the Accelerator.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm looking forward to now being able to fully dig into my business, because every other component, I've been so blessed to have entrepreneurship carry us through life.
Yeah.
my children, and it still blows my mind that like I worked for myself and got this done. So I was able to be active in their life, pay the bill, all that kind of stuff. And so now
they saw that. Like, wow. Like that's their life experience as my mom is an entrepreneur.
Well, you ask them on a certain day.
Mine too.
But I think it did put me going through the program, it put me in the mindset, do I need to grind that hard now? Because, hey, I can do some of these other like freelance type things. So if I want to travel more, I really can. And so with the speaking engagements coming up and all those different things, it's like, wow, like I'm a little more free to do that.
Yeah.
We can actually enjoy vacations. So for the very first time in about 16 years, we did a family vacation.
Wow.
And it was just like one of those, every other time we traveled, it was sports related or something like that, right? And so with both of them graduating, it's like, we're going to do it. And we went to Puerto Rico. And it was so much fun.
Yes.
Just to be out of town, not have to go to a tournament, not have to get up. And, we were able to enjoy. So I'm looking forward to more of that.
Yeah.
My husband and I, we were young. Well, we were kind of young. So I was 20, he was 23. And everything was about the kids.
Of course.
Like life has been about the kids. So we're kind of in that stage of like, okay, well, we're going to find out if we really like each other.
That's right.
And we get to kind of start over. I met my husband when I was 14.
Oh, that's amazing.
So the only other time that we were without kids is when we were kids, basically. So it's kind of exciting, kind of anxious, like, ugh, what is it going to be? Like, are you finna start getting on my nerves? Am I finna start getting on your nerves? But we are really excited about it. And both the kids are close. So it's not like they're super, super far away.
Yeah.
And we can still do like family dynamic type things. So it's like a really like a new chapter for me. I'm pretty excited. People are like, you're going to be sad. I'm like,
We, I think being so excited for the boys in the next chapter of their lives, that like I was sad leading up to graduation and it was exhausting. I was so tired of crying. Like the commercials and the sappiness and people being like, how are you? And I was literally like, every time I thought I was empty, there would be more tears. But the second they were gone, where we were officially in the next phase, tears were gone. Like, I was totally fine. I was just the exhaustion of anticipating their departure was awful. But them being gone, then I finally got to be excited for them. Got to be excited, when they were on the phone or when they came home. I got to enjoy them again because senior year is exhausting, right? Yes. I mean, it's just a lot of work. And so then they come home and now it's just fun, and they're turning into their own people and that's interesting, right? Yes. And so, yeah, I'm just speaking like one ear, but right in alignment with you. I mean, it's been good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I did too. I accelerated, started traveling, saying yes to a lot more things because I could, because it was all about them.
I've been traveling with her a lot more often now too, where I didn't get to on her speaking events. I've been going and it's been nice. What I was going to ask is, do either one of your kids have the ambition to be an entrepreneur?
That is a really good question. I'm going to say yes and no. So my daughter, she's like my brain kid. Like she likes all things books, notes, and she's in school for computer science. My son, I feel like he is more of my entrepreneurial kid, but I also think he's super lazy. So I think he will venture down that lane. So at one point, he wanted to go into the tech side of things. It's like, dude, that is not your ministry. Don't even. So he revisited, and I can see him going like a marketing professional because he's a people person, 100%. I don't see him, doing any hard labor type jobs. And he actually said, he's like, Mom, would it be okay if I wanted a desk job? I'm like, absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I think he will be more entrepreneurial, which will possibly lead to his own business, but he's kind of lazy. So
now he plays basketball, you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's not totally lazy. This is a whole different standard from coming from Mama.
correct.
As far as training goes and everything, that's one of the hardest sports there is.
And to your point, he will do that. He breathes basketball.
Yeah.
So when it comes to basketball, no. He's not lazy.
It's once that ends, if he finds that thing that keeps him alive like basketball, it's game on.
He's going to be on fire.
It could be.
Yeah.
So I could see that with him.
Yeah.
Basketball, he will turn out. So he had ACL, MCL surgery his sophomore year, and it really took a toll on him. But super proud of him because he made sure he got back stronger. There were doctors telling him that he wouldn't be able to compete on a high school level because of the damage of the knee. And I will tell you, that kid, I had to tell him, I was like, if you say you're going to the gym one more time, like, it's going to be a problem. Because he did. He came back. So when it comes to working out, going to the gym, yes, he will get that done over anything. But the moment you mention work of any sorts, he's sick, he's sleepy, he's hungry, he's, all these different things. But he is a hard worker, though. So a funny story about him. So when he was 3 years old, he was playing, like, dribbling the ball. My husband is a basketball guy. So he was dribbling the ball in between the legs. He's literally probably that tall.
Wow.
And we go to the YMCA because he needed to get that energy off somewhere. There's a video of him on YouTube shooting on the 10-foot hoop, okay? So we go to the YMCA. He's 3 years old, and we're just trying to see what the process is. And we're standing there, and the lady at the desk was like, well, he has to be 5 before he can go into a program. So you talk about favor, okay? Like, all my life, we've just had favor. So the ED was coming out of her office and was hearing the conversation. And she was like, is this the kid that you guys are wanting? She was like, oh, if he's doing that, he can compete with these kids. It's just a matter if you guys want him playing with 5-year-olds. We're like, let's do it. And the ball, his head was literally, it looked as big as the basketball. And it was so funny because he dribbling the ball, his shorts were all long. Well, full circle, now he works at the YMCA.
Oh, no.
So he went back and he's like a camp counselor now. He works with the kids at the YMCA. So he's a really good kid. My daughter is
the same
too.
one? Same YMCA, or is it
No,
different?
we were in St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
So he works for the YMCA here.
Gotcha.
So I've been really blessed. I have some really good kids. And my daughter, I can see her kind of being more that structured, that corporate, and then he will be the entrepreneurial kid.
Now, you can decline from answering this, but you had shared with me, that you grew up and came from, just a rougher life. And, a lot of the hard choices that you and your husband made were to create a totally different future and a totally different point of view for your children. Do you mind talking about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we came from a great family. My mom had a baby young. My sister had a baby young. My dad, super smart, but, women, alcohol, that was his thing. And we never had anyone that, what is success? Like, success was paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Success was single parent home, those kind of things. So having someone to look up to, not so much. We talk a lot about generational curses and things that, you can see trends and you can see patterns. Hardworking family, but it was like hardworking to just keep hardworking and not to grow.
Right.
Even to the point of sometimes, like, if they see someone over or growing, it becomes that crab in a barrel. So we came from that. My husband's side of the family, they did like side fields, factories, that kind of thing. So anything outside of that, you were considered bougie or whatever. And so one thing my husband and I agreed on out of the gate early, we wanted something different for our children, period. We wanted them. So I went to college. My husband didn't go to college. And so I got to see and experience a lot of different things. When I was in high school, I graduated number 7 in my class.
Wow.
And so I had teachers, I had counselors that saw something in me and pulled me and it was like, we wanted something different for our kids. We did not want them to grow up in St. Louis because at that time, to graduate high school without being pregnant, you made it. Like, that was success on a lot of different fronts.
Sure.
So imagine, and then like even for me and my husband, we've been together 26 years and it'll be 20 years that we've been married. We don't have any friends that have that same. So a lot of the challenges that we faced, we didn't have anybody to talk to about it. We didn't know what to do. And it was rough, right? But we've always kept that same thing. Like, we want to change it for our line of family, whatever that looks like. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves, like, we said we wanted to change it. So somebody's got to go through the tough stuff because it gets hard. Like, it has really been hard and been challenging. But even sometimes when we see like triggers of those generational type things, it's like, nope, we're not doing that. You're going to get it together and we're going to, so a lot of kind of making sure that when we have our hardest moments, it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel down. It's okay to not have, but you get back up and you keep going. We're not victims. We're not going to sulk. Nobody is going to hand it to you. Like, you have to get it done. And that is something on our side that we didn't really have a lot of.
Yeah.
St. Louis, murder capital of the world. So the mindset there is much different. It's about fancy clothes and shoes, and nobody's talking about investing. Nobody's talking about financials, because on any given day, you were hood rich, if anything.
Right.
Not,
just trying to survive too.
Just trying to survive. Yeah. And so we didn't want our kids to see that. We wanted them to see that there were options, and, they could do whatever they wanted to do as long as they kept doing something. And it's been a thing, but, God has given us favor in a lot of different things. And we always ask our kids, like, would you rather have favor from God or favor from man? And you get to choose. If you want favor from man, they're going to let you down every single time.
Yeah.
But if you want favor from God, it's going to hurt. It's going to challenge you. It's going to stretch you. But I can guarantee you on the other side of that, you'll see the benefits. And they have, even as like they go through things, and it's like trying to walk them through these challenges. It's like, we didn't have anybody walking us through our stuff, so we don't even know if we're telling them the right thing, But, we have 2 amazing kids. At the graduation, we did a picnic for my son, and a lot of family came in town, and, over and over, you just heard, you have really good kids. You have really good kids. And that's a blessing.
Yeah.
That's a blessing.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, we always kind of define success. Did we do better than the generation before? And that doesn't always have to mean money.
Mm-hmm.
Did we show them the right path, or help lead them down the right path, show them love in a different way, whatever that may be. Mm-hmm. And that kind of defined success for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's exciting, though. I mean, and just to see you prospering and helping.
I know.
I mean, it's just so encouraging, and like, to your point, like, there needs to be more people that can say, I've been there. This is doable. You've got this. Here's what you need to know, and I mean, you talk about why your organization versus someone else. Because you're there, like you walked it, you lived it. Like this is not concept. This is not, I read a book or I heard something or,
Right.
I'm the new goo-goo.
Right. Right. I think with BSOs or business service organizations, now it's changed a lot, of course. But before, like when we first got started, no one, and even still, I am a business owner, so I have to wear two hats, right? I have to wear the hat to help the people, and then I have to wear the hat as a business owner.
Yes.
Whereas my colleagues in the industry, they go in and they clock in. So it's a job for them, which not taking away their passion, not taking away, but they're going to get that paycheck regardless because they work there. And the difference is, if I don't do it, I don't eat. I don't get that. So I think that drives a lot more, even to the entrepreneurs that come through our pipeline. It's like, I don't work for anybody.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally doing this to help you. And sometimes it's hard to decipher, which one is more important. Am I going to give more help? And, the resources and things that are out there. Me going and applying for that accelerator and getting accepted was awesome because I felt guilty. It's like, did I take somebody else's spot that,
Wow.
and it's like, literally, like I go through those things, but it's like, I can't help someone if I don't fill my cup too. And I had to accept that. I had to tell myself it was okay to receive.
Yes.
So that I can give
You'll
more.
be able to give more. The more you can scale you and your business, the more you'll be able to give, the more attention's going to be received by the people who need it. And they'll be able to find you. But I could see how you would think, I took somebody's spot.
Yes.
But it's one, but it may help another 100.
Right.
It'll multiply.
So even like opportunities like this, right? Before I would be like, oh, well, I know somebody I can refer, and it's like, I wouldn't do it. And every time, like, it's like God just like pushes. Contrary to popular beliefs, I am a very behind the scenes kind of person. Planning, strategy, getting her done. But it's like, I keep getting like pushed out. And I'm like, because another, like how I grew up, the higher or the more you got, it was like the more somebody wanted. Right. So I never wanted a lot because I didn't always it's like, what's the point in getting it if somebody else is going to, get
Take it or try to,
so
reach off you.
That was something that I had to get over as well. Like that mental, all of that. As people in general, we go through so much. We have so much here.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't realize how it impacts business, how it impacts life. So for my organization, we try to deal from that standpoint. That is what helps push success, right? And then what even is success, right?
Yeah.
Like success is what you make it, not all this other stuff. And it just kind of helps to eliminate walls, barriers, you name it. And if I have to go create a lane for somebody else to have an opportunity, I don't mind doing that, right? Because I feel like, one, there's a blessing on the other side in some kind of way. And then I just think about my life in general. When I tell you, it blows my mind that I've been an entrepreneur all these years and my family is like awesome. Like, yeah, we've had our issues and trials and all that.
Because you're human.
But like, it's been, I'm an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Yes. And that is, I just think that is the ultimate message that we share with any client. Yeah, you do need money, right? Of course, we're not saying you don't. But if you're willing to put in that work, if you are willing to stay the course, that scripture of your talents will make way for you is so true. But if you don't do it, nobody's just randomly writing checks and all that. So let's help you get to that point.
It's so true. Like there was a number of years ago, I got to do this mini speech. and it was titled "Money's Not Your Problem." And it's exactly what you're talking about, because that is one of the things I learned about my entrepreneurial journey and like bootstrapping my company. You had to go to the bank and find out, oh, I only need X dollars to open an account. But that you get there and they're like, oh, you need a name. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to call my company. So then I had to go through that. And then like exactly what you said, LLC, $25, not $1 million, not 100,000, not 50,000, not something that needs a loan. And there were so many tiny steps. File the paperwork, come up with the name, deposit $50 in the bank account so that they have one with your name, buy a $10 pack of business cards, figure out what you're going to do. And it was amazing for me, right when all of those little, not like almost free, sweat equity type of things, I put in, God placed a client in my lap that was not in contradiction, and kept me in integrity with my full-time job that I could do on the weekends, right? And it started building my business. But you're right, like that faith journey and just that mindset of progress and not blaming, not saying, oh, we don't have the money to do this, or, oh, that's for other people. And then even after it started working, define that, because you'll redefine it every year you stay in business for yourself. But, so many wrestlings with the beliefs I didn't realize I even had about money, whether or not I was going to become a rotten person, or whether I was deserving, or what money represented in my life, and just, so much spiritual work. Yes. To realize I was doing some really weird subconscious stuff, around pushing prosperity and opportunity away from me. And it wasn't appropriate, but I didn't see it. Same. You mentioned earlier, like, you don't know what you don't know. Ooh, there's a lot of stuff we don't know about ourselves. That's the weirdest thing,
Yes. The religion part, we grew up in church, that was, and to your point, I almost had a fear, or it was kind of instilled, that if you do too well, God will be angry at you because it's greed, or it's, it's like,
or I'm turning it into an idol. And I kept being like, I don't think so, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure I love God more, but I don't know.
Yes. Oh, right. I was right there with you. Yeah. Like that. And that's real. Like that is real. Someone mentioned, I was listening to a podcast, or I don't know what it was, but they were like different things like mommy and daddy issues, right? Conversations that you've had with, it could have been an uncle, your grandmother, that are still resonating in your head that you don't know, and you don't realize it until the word triggers, right? Like something causes you to feel weird, and you don't even realize that it was because when you were 8 years old, Uncle Johnny said you were trash, or you would never amount to anything. And that's still playing in your head. And so getting to a point where you actually see yourself in it, that is a challenge.
Yep.
It is a challenge. Because for me, it's like, I don't want to be too boastful. I don't want to, take too many accolades, because I don't want God to be angry at me. Like, no, God, I'm on your team. Like, I want to do it your way.
It's not about me.
It's not about, yeah. So, yeah, that's real.
Yeah, I love it.
That is real.
I love it. Well, what encouragement would you give to people in this day and age and time? And you can take this in whatever direction that you want to.
So that's a really good topic. I think for me, I would tell people that yes, entrepreneurship is available, right? But that doesn't mean you have to go after it. Take your time, do it, but be realistic. What you see, what you may hear, it does not compare to what you will experience. And so going into it with this mindset of it's a marathon, not a sprint, has to be at the forefront. Because mainstream makes entrepreneurship looks so easy, and it's still a process. Like whether you're an overnight success, the 10-year overnight success, right?
Exactly.
There are things that have to take place. And you have to really ask yourself, do you want overnight success? Because if overnight success comes, guess what? So does morning. And where are you going to be when morning comes, right? So I would just say, take your time, find out what you actually want. And there's no rush. There is no rush, but surround yourself with resources, people, community to help you, and ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions. I was listening to a sermon the other day, and it was kind of talking about how people nowadays, if they get an inkling of something, they become the subject matter expert, right? But you can't teach somebody how to perfect something that you're learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you are learning it, don't go out and try to be the subject matter expert. Give yourself due diligence to craft it and then go after it. So that's kind of my little
I love that.
tidbit.
That's great. Yeah.
It's awesome. Any final questions from you?
That summed it up.
I know.
mean, I'm not going to get a better answer than that.
No, totally. Okay, well, where can people follow you, find you, investigate your organization, all of the things?
Literally. So North Texas Entrepreneur Training is the current name of the organization, but hot off the press, we are changing names. So we are going to a more universal name. So we will be known as Foundations Entrepreneur Development Program.
I love it.
So looking forward to that. So stay tuned.
Yes.
But literally, if you Google Darlisa Diltz, you'll find something.
I love it.
We're on every social as NTEETC from organizational standpoint. But if you Google my name, something will come up.
I love it. And we will hyperlink all of that stuff in the show notes. So, Darlisa, thank you so much.
you
This was such a fun conversation.
This was fun.
All
Thank
right.
you, guys.
All right.
Onward and upward.
Adios.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Corporate Caffeine podcast, please help us help you by subscribing. I also hope you'll find us on social media. You can follow me, Dacia Coffee, and my company, The Marketing Blender, by searching us on your favorite platform or checking out the show notes for the links. We bring this to you because we envision a business world full of meaning, connection, and prosperity for us all. Until next time, onward and upward.